The Abandonded Carriage. Mara and Jake were on a late-night drive, the kind they used to take in college, back when staying up until sunrise was an adventure. It had been a long week, so they thought a nighttime escape would be fun. The highway was empty, the trees on either side casting eerie shadows over the road, broken only by their headlights cutting through the darkness. They were halfway down a desolate stretch when Mara spotted something strange up ahead, off the shoulder. "Jake, slow down," she said, leaning forward in her seat. "What's that?" He squinted, trying to make out the shape. As they got closer, it became clear. An old baby carriage, sitting alone under a flickering streetlight. It looked out of place, like it had been left in a hurry. Jake pulled the car over, his eyes glued to the mysterious stroller. "That's creepy," he muttered, glancing around. "Where's the baby? Or anyone?" Mara's curiosity took over, and before Jake could say anything, she was out of the car, walking toward the carriage. The closer she got, the worse the air felt, stale and cold, like a draft from an open window in a forgotten attic. "Mara," Jake called after her, staying by the car. "Maybe we should just go. It's probably a prank." But Mara was already peering into the stroller, her face pale in the dim light. She stepped back, eyes wide, and shook her head. "There's nothing in it," she whispered, looking around as if expecting someone to jump out from the shadows. Jake walked up beside her, glancing into the carriage for himself. It was empty. No blanket, no toys, just a rusted, creaky frame. But as he leaned closer, he noticed faint impressions on the fabric, as if something small had indeed been lying there recently. A chill crept up his spine, and he instinctively reached for Mara's hand. "Let's get back to the car," he murmured. But as they turned, a sound pierced the silence, the softest, faintest cry. Mara froze, her eyes darting back to the carriage. "Did you hear that?" Jake swallowed, his pulse racing. "Yeah, but it's empty, Mara. We checked." The cry grew louder, desperate, almost like a whimper. Against every instinct, they looked back into the carriage, but it was still empty. The carriage began to rock slowly. It started out like a gentle push, then grew harder and harder, the wheels creaking louder until it nearly tipped over. They stumbled back to their car, panicked, and hurried inside. Once they shut the doors, Jake started the engine, his hands shaking, his foot on the gas. But when Mara glanced into the back seat, her breath stopped. A figure was sitting there, an impossibly tall, thin man, dressed in dark, ragged clothes. His face was partially hidden in shadow, but his eyes shone in the dim light, cold and unblinking. With a voice that was low and hollow, he whispered, "Did you see my baby?" Mara screamed, fumbling with her seatbelt, trying to get out. Jake twisted in his seat, his face going white as he looked at the man's hollow eyes, the twisted grin that slowly spread across his face. In a voice barely above a whisper, the man repeated, "Where's my baby?" Jake and Mara bolted out of the car to meet each other in the blinding glow of the headlights. The two squinted back towards the car. They slowly rounded the driver's side of the vehicle, peering at the dark figure in the back seat. But there was no one there. The car was empty. Mara cautiously circled around the rear. That's when she noticed the back passenger door was open. As Mara got closer, a sickening feeling came over her. There were footprints leading away from the car and into the trees that lined the road. "Let's get out of here," said Mara. Jake and Mara quickly got into the car, tore down the road, the headlights cutting through the darkness. But Mara couldn't shake the feeling of those cold eyes on her, and the chilling whisper that lingered in her mind, echoing over and over. "Did you see my baby?"